Ah, I can hear you now.
Hello, Stephane.
Hi, Petra.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
My pleasure.
So, tell me a little bit, where are you at the moment?
I am for 3 years now. I've been ballet master in Toulouse at the Capitol, Ballet du Capitol.
Okay, I see. And you were there in lockdown as well in France?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
A
And
year ago already. It's going fast, yeah.
yeah, and in the time when lockdown was announced, did you were involved in a company with a company?
Yes, I have a full contract. Yeah, yes, it is a permanent position.
Okay, so how did the dancers and you and the company, how did you all deal with this? Was it a bit of a shock, or did you also already know from other countries that what's going to happen?
Actually, no, I don't think I was aware of the level of the situation. I don't think at all, because I remember very well we had some shows here around Toulouse, and we were in a bus on the way to another city beside here, and we got there to perform, and somehow everything canceled before the show, so we had to go back in the bus and going back home, and that was a Friday. And the next day, we went to work with, I mean, you had an announcement from the president, Emmanuel Macron. And then the next day, on Saturday, we went to work. And then at 2 o'clock, because our first part of the day is finishing at 2:30, but at 2 o'clock, the secretariat came to the studio and said, we have to stop everything and going home. And from there, news after news, we had to be home for more than a month. And then I was teaching on Zoom the company with this special technique, which is called the floor barre from Boris Kniaseff, which is a special technique for the dancers, where they actually can posture themselves very well, because it's lay on the floor or on your back or in sitting position or on your stomach.
Oh, that's amazing, because I was going to ask you this. I asked the dancers also, but you as a ballet master would know also this sudden change in environment for the dancers, you know, where they're usually used to this big studio and the space, and also this interaction between each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't always think about that, but for them, this is also a factor. And the fact that, as you know, there's in this confined space, like like a living room, is really not a place to do these movements that they do. But you say that the floor bar that you implemented in the floor bar.
Yes, yes, exactly. So this technique is kind of amazing. I mean, I've been doing myself when I was a dancer, and afterwards, when I became a teacher and a ballet master, I always share this technique. It's a beautiful story. I don't know if you have time to share that,
Yes,
but we would
please,
like to.
please. Yes, please.
It is a wonderful story, because Boris Kniaseff came in 1919 to France during the revolution of Russia. He was a dancer in St. Petersburg. And from there, he had a career in France with different theaters. He became also in 1932 to 1934 a ballet master at the Opéra Comique. It was a second ballet company in Paris, which doesn't exist anymore. And then he opened a studio in 1937 in Paris, l'Académie Internationale or something like that. He had also a professional dancer here, and he was organizing some performance. And then in 1953, he was invited to Lausanne because they had a big festival there also. And the city asked him if he was interested to move to Lausanne to open a studio. And it was actually a good time for him because he had some trouble with the government in France because he was not paying his taxes.
Okay.
So the opportunity to have this proposition in Lausanne was very well for him because actually he could escape outside of the country to not pay his taxes. And so it was a big event for the city of Lausanne to have this famous teacher from Paris. And they proposed him a kind of an apartment with a beautiful room. And the owner said, you can do whatever you want here, but you please do not destroy the wall on the side. Do not put any bar. You know how we practice. You have a bar around the rooms. And he was like, okay. So by not having the possibility to put the dancer on their feet and having a bar on the wall, he said, let's do the bar on the floor. En français, je sais pas. I don't know. You don't speak French, no?
No, sorry.
No, because it's a beautiful.
I tried, but it doesn't work with me.
Yeah, I try also many languages, and it doesn't work for me either.
I'm blonde, so I cannot. I tried to speak French, but I cannot. Sorry, carry on.
So he certainly reorganized all the function of the exercise on the gravity on the center, on the floor, like I said, on sitting position, on the back, on the stomach. And from there, by doing that on the daily time, they realized actually it was very helpful for the dancer to find their center. Everything makes sense certainly, and the muscle was getting longer. Especially in that time, the purity and the elegance of the muscle in the body changed enormously time by time. But in that time, the dancer was a little bit chubby on the muscle. They were very round, big pound shoes, and the shape of the dancer was not so aesthetically thin as we have today. But this technique actually was kind of avant-garde and build up this new way of working. And by not being on the standing feet, the muscle was starting to be longer. And he added to this technique also a lot of stomach work, which give a very good core on the center. And by doing that, they got stronger on their legs when they were standing up. And he organized also a lot of port de bras with repetition of movement. And honestly, I've been doing this floor bar. Even today, if I'm not a dancer, I'm still doing my floor bar every day because it keeps me such a good shape. So it is definitely a beautiful and worthy technique. So after 1 year of being in Lausanne, then he moved to Geneva, and then he moved to Buenos Aires, he moved to Hamburg. He traveled a lot to spread out this new work. And then he came back to Paris. And there I know that my teacher, because I never met Boris Kniaseff, he died in 1975. And I started ballet when I was a kid in 1980. So I work with one of these student, a teacher, and she was told me this floor bar for many years. When I was off during my vacation, during the weekends, I went to Paris and study this technique.
And now have you always done this technique, or did you just use it now when the dancers couldn't be in the studio?
Do you mean at the moment?
Yeah.
At the moment, this technique is not part of the daily time routine. For example, I must say that, as you know, the season starts end of August here, but this year, because of what's happening with the COVID, we didn't have any season. Actually, we didn't perform on stage at all. We did 2 streaming with the company to put on the social media, but otherwise we have been working every day like a normal day, like we were preparing different program for the season, but we are not performing. We just keep the dancer working. But
Yeah.
on a daily time, so what I want to try to say is that sometime we did had some period with not much work, and my director here in Toulouse said, Stephane, why don't you teach a floor bar in the morning and then you do a ballet class? So twice this season, we had like 2 times 10 days where I was teaching the floor bar. And the dancer here knows very well this technique, so it's very convenient for them also to have that in on daily time work. Has been very useful.
Yeah, and during lockdown, did they feel, because for dancers, of course, their bodies changed, I think, because they didn't dance and they didn't move as much, and also these specific movements that they used to do. And I think also it's, you know, with singers, when they sing in the small room, they don't project as much as when they do on stage. And I wondered for dancers, if their movements, if their body, if the brain then, you know, sort of inhibit the movements, whereas when they have the space and of course the bar where they have the support. But do you think your dancers, by doing this floor bar, could feel the advantage? Have they mentioned anything to you?
Oh yes, they did. Oh yes, they do. Oh yes, definitely. Even, you know, Toulouse is not the only place where I've been. I've been traveling around the world and dancing everywhere, and they know my work, and I'm quite well known with this technique. If you put Stephane Dalle dance on the Google, you will find straight away floor bar of Stephane Dalle. And not just the dancer here, but so many other dancers from other places was tried to connect with me to get this technique. But I did in 2009. I make 3 DVDs with 3 different levels. One is for beginners, intermediate, and advanced. So I could also help with these DVDs. Many other so many school and so many companies, so many teachers approached me during that time. And still today, I receive a message, it was yesterday or before yesterday, from California, someone who has been buying my DVD and want to recommend this DVD to a Japanese school. So because his wife is Japanese from California, so I mean, and then he could not find the DVD anymore so I give him the address and I say, yes, of course you can find it, because I changed producer, so that's why he could not find it anymore. So all the time, I'm still today, even after 2009, my DVD is still quite successful for this type of period where we are now, because most of the schools are closed and they cannot teach the kids anymore. So they do that. They do that also on Zoom, and they use my DVD many times. It is really. I mean, you have a lot of technique to support a ballet class. I mean, you have Pilates, you have White Cloud, you have Alexander technique. You have even yoga class could be helpful. You have, you know, different technique, but the amazing technique with the Boris Kniaseff technique is it's based on classical ballet class. So and most of the other technique, you always need a mat, you need you know, a machine, or you need a special different things to help to dancer, you know. But the floor bar, you just need a floor, slippery floor, and then from there you just do a ballet class on the floor. So it is very, very simple and very helpful to carry that all your career, or even after, when you want to stay in shape.
Yes, but do you think now, because now suddenly people are more aware of certain things because of the situation that they're in, then so, you know, we start finding different solutions. So for dancers, for example, that cannot move, so they can use this technique. But do you think this is something that might be implemented also in the future? so that it's not just now that dancers now who use it or who are aware of it now see the positive and the advantages, and that maybe ballet companies would use that more, or ballet schools would use that more for their dancers.
I think it goes that direction, definitely. It goes that direction. This period of time we are living now, readjusting many things, and the opportunity of this knowing this technique, I think in the future, for example, for a school, this technique could help enormously a program of teachers, for example, teachers who have difficulty for some kids to actually develop some part of their legs because the muscle goes that direction and this and that. But the flow bar is so well repetitive, you know, it's like you are playing a piano. So da 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 di da di da 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 di da di da 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 da. You have to repeat your finger again and again, or a voice, whatever you have to do. You have to practice again and again and again and again and again, practicing by repetition. And this flow bar is based on that. It's very, very, very simple repetition. But by doing that, it's directing your muscle, developing your core, your port de bras with your legs on sitting position or on the back, even stomach on the floor. It is definitely by improving your possibility, your surplusness, your coordination, your strongness, your stability, your concentration also, because just facing the floor like that, you know, it makes you want to close your eyes all the time. And so you go back to yourself and you're going to find in yourself the true meaning of why you're doing that, why you are a singer, why you are a musician, why you are a dancer, because you have this life, artistic life of nourishing your what you are decide to do with it. It's matter of a deep connection, this flow bar. And this is why it helped me enormously also before my performance to concentrate. I was doing a flow bar. I was not doing ballet class before warming up my body. I was doing a flow bar because it helped me to find in me the true meaning of my dancing to go on stage afterwards.
So it's almost a type of meditation, would you
well,
say?
I don't want to use these words. You could say that if you want to, but I would prefer to say it's helping you to connect with a true meaning. Yeah, meditation. It's yes. I mean, it's a deepness of living your life with consciousness. Yeah, you are part of the consciousness. And when you do the flow bar, of course, you are going to be consciousness, because by working so hard anyway on your body, says definitely you are pushing yourself so high, then you extending yourself as a human being, whatever an artist is doing anyway, a musician or singer. It's an extension of possibility of people, of humankind, you know, when we are an artist. And definitely as a dancer, I do feel that this technique helped me to go further than what I just learned in a ballet class. It's very complementary and extending my possibility. The way I was turning, the way I was jumping, the way I was proposing my feet on the floor, the way I was extending the movement, it had completely a different meaning. Everything became so clear and so pure. You know, it's just a matter of quality. It's a beautiful technique.
But it's so interesting also that it's possible, well, that it was possible for you to teach this. And I think, I wonder if that also brought some motivation for the dancers to do it, because many dancers that I've spoken to said that they, you know, they attempt to do Zoom classes, but they had to hold onto a chair or a fireplace, and you know, it wasn't stable, and they just had this little piece of floor, and then they, some days it was just, you know, the hassle of doing it was just not for them, impossible to do it. But then it sounds as if this floor bar really, where you have also where they had this time, you know, in the day to really concentrate and really connect them, as you say, with their bodies, that this floor bar is actually so ideal for this time.
Completely. I completely, you're getting the right message I'm trying to give you. It is exactly what he did. He did enormously a beautiful work, and I'm so glad I know this technique and I can offer that to the ballet world.
Because many dancers actually, well, many artists talk about this fact that they, in this time, really thought about why they're doing this art, or why they're doing the music, or the dancing, and you know, time to reflect about their life and what they did before, and what they you know, what they would love to do. So really connecting with the artist side of it, and I know for dancers, you know, for they start training at a young age, and it's all like this, you know, it's constant, and the pressure on them is also, you know, with performances and so on. So also, like you say, in that sense, connecting with the artistry, you know, in this, so it's also a wonderful way to do that, or to have that connection.
Yeah, and that's, you bring a very important subject, because during that time you cannot imagine how many dancers stopped dancing.
Really?
They stopped. Oh yeah, I mean, in every part of life and different profession, some people realize that actually, you know, they want to do something else. But it is true that even here in Toulouse, we had like 2 or 3 dancers who are giving up on dancing. They left the company during the summertime.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So life is bringing any times of different situation the possibility to make choice, and I think he did a big job for on that direction. So one more time, I mean, if and it's also, it's not always on a negative way I'm saying that. I'm saying that on a very positive way. Sometimes, you know, we take a direction in our life and we are not so sure actually, and we're doing that for many years, and then we realize, okay, this is not for me. I want to do a big change in my life. And this is what happened with the coronavirus, with this period, and still today, we're still not done with this challenge. Many people are definitely changing life, because they do realize after a long time that they live in a big stress, and they doesn't feel like they want to do that anymore. They doesn't accept that for their mind, for their body. So, and it clarifies a lot of things for yourself.
So how do you find the mood amongst the dancers now that you don't perform, so that they are still working, but there's no performance? And also, this was something that a dancer told me, that for him it's that moment on the stage, it's being on stage that really gives him this feeling, or this, I wouldn't say a reward, but it's this feeling that he needs, he wants this. And now
a
how
nourishment, you could say nourishment, a nourishment.
Yeah, exactly, that's the word. Yes. The nourishment. And so how do you feel the dancers, or how do you sense that the dancers are feeling overall?
Well, with my personal experience here as a leader, as a ballet master with the company, I think the beginning of the season until December, it was very somehow still positive and exciting somehow, because we did a streaming with a program from Rodolphe Nureyev with different pieces from his choreography, and I think the dancer enjoyed to be filmed and to put that on the media. And then afterwards, with different program, which was much more contemporary, I must say that I do feel that the company is not in the same mood anymore. And it's not in a positive way. No, I'm so sorry to say that. I see that the dancers, some of them are giving up on the discipline and coming to the studio and practicing again. Unfortunately, they get maybe discouraged by the fact that they cannot go on stage. Yeah, I do feel that at the moment I have to let it go on a lot of things, because I feel like you have to be aware of the psychology, how it goes in a studio. Otherwise, you could bring a lot of tension and negativity. And it is not. It is a challenge at the moment, I must say. It is a big challenge.
Also, the dancers, do they have? Do you think part of this is also this anxiety that's created by this virus, that everybody's so aware of not being close to each other? And I think with dancers, from a young age, when they train together, this physical togetherness, I think it's in dance, I don't think you find it in any other art form where they are really physically so close and so connected with each other in a physical way, but also in a mental way of being in this group together and dancing and performing together. But now there's this anxiousness about spreading the virus. So for them, would say show physically affection by hugging or by even dancing together, and this contact the whole time with each other, that this is part of the fact that they are not, that brings a bit of a lower mood in them, that there's not that closeness anymore.
Completely, yeah. It's a communion. You're communicating, dancers are communicating physically and psychologically. I would have said spiritually, yeah. And this is what has been destroyed. We are here every Tuesday tested from the corona. We have a nurse who's coming to the ballet, and we have to do a test every week. And it didn't. Anyway, we had some case where 1 or 2 dancers got the virus and had to stay home. But the first time it happened, it was, I think, during end September, October. We were middle of going on stage. We could have performed actually, because it was starting to reopen the theaters and movie theaters. And one dancer got the virus. We had to stop the next day and stay home for 10 days. And that was the first case of having a dancer. But in that time, because we were working, this dancer, we were working with everybody in the studio. Everybody, me as in a studio, and just me and the dancer, actually, because I was alone in the studio, we had to stay home. The secretariat of the ballet, the people who didn't have to be at home, but we had to stay home. But now, if we have a case of the corona, we have a test, and the people who are contaminated should stay home, but the rest can continue to work in the studio. Okay. So the rules has been changed.
Yeah.
But to finish your question, and the subject of your question is that even me, my teaching in the studio has been completely different.
Oh, really?
In the past, I was going through the studios and correcting the dancer, and feeling their arms, and then stretching their knees and more turnout in their feet. Today, I'm sitting on my chair. I give the exercise to the bar, and I go back sitting in my chair, and I look everybody from the front. And the level of my teaching has been completely different.
That is so, yeah, that is really sad. And it's also, for the dancers that also I think need that energy from you, to in the teaching.
Yeah.
Well,
the meaning is different.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked about that, because these are the things that I want to highlight, that people understand, that the impact is not, it's not just that you don't perform, It's not just that part. There's so much more in that. And also, you know, like you said about the you know, the mood of the dancers, because they can't perform. So you're working for something, but there's not that nourishment, like you say. Yeah. I and also in the first part of lockdown, I think for the dancers, that isolation. Two of my children are ballet dancers, and I know for them it was very hard, the isolation. You know, the fact that they didn't see each other or connect or had this physical connection and like you say, psychological connection with their colleagues. To do this every time alone also, and also the space. Yeah.
It must be a challenge. Where are they dancing professionally, your children?
Yeah, they are here at the Staatsoper. At the Ballet.
With Igor Zelensky. Ah no, no, it was Manuel Lecry. You are in Vienna. That was
Manuel was here.
Manuel Lecry was the director. Now it must be Martin Schlapfer.
Martin Schlapfer, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me, Stephane, did you do anything, a hobby or anything in the time that you didn't work, and you know, when you had the free time, or read a lot, or I don't know, was there something that you could take your mind off things?
Yeah, I have been I have a beautiful little house here in Toulouse, and I have a little garden, and I must say, garden for me, yes, a little garden, but it's not big, but it's enough for me to occupy my mind. It's really you know, the connection with nature, with the natural sense, a plant, or maintaining a little square of a garden is nourishing my spirit, I must say. I'm very lucky for that, I must say. And yeah, the daily, of course, I'm reading, for example, at the moment, I'm reading a beautiful biography from Josephine Baker. I love to read this type of books, and spiritual books also. And most of the time, my work is take me a lot of my deep inside. So having different things needs to oxygens, yes, to give me some diverse, to change my mind away. Because as a ballet master, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to explain, you have to learn a lot of counts on the music, you have to learn the step for the dancer, you have to teach, you have to make a ballet class, and it does take a lot of energy in you. You are completely focused on that direction, and sometimes you could be very close-minded with what you do on a daily time. But I must say, with gardening and you know, taking care of my house here, doing little different things is helping me enormously.
Yeah, I think these things that you never had time for, that you can do now. And yeah, I spoke to a ballet dancer yesterday, and she said she stood on her balcony and a bumblebee came to one of the flowers, and she saw that, and she in that moment just thought, how wonderful, I can actually stand here and watch the bumblebee.
Beautiful.
And normally she doesn't have time to do that, but for her it was,
yeah. But when you are so passionate about, because you know, to be a dancer, it's taking so much time of yourself to become on that level. So sometimes if you don't have other occupation beside that, you can be very, very centered and focused. I mean, I remember when I was a dancer, I did that for so long. All my career was so focused. Plus, I started to teach and help my colleagues and friends when I was still a dancer. So even during my free time, on my evening time, I was just in a studio. But the lucky thing is, because the lucky things in my childhood, before I was in a dance world. My parents was farmer. I really live in a country, middle of nowhere, in a beautiful house with full of animals. So afterwards, when I was in cities or big cities and different countries, I still have this connection with different in me. So I can, somehow deal with the full of diversity in life. And that is, I must say, I've been very lucky to be part of that when I was a kid, because today I still can reflect and balance myself with that.
But how did you become a dancer? It would be interesting to know, coming from a farm. Was it something you wanted to do? Was it what inspired you or interested you in dance?
I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. I am the last one. So we were 6 kids, middle of nowhere in France. In a village. It was not much more than 100 people in a village. It was no, just 1 shop, 2 shops, and then after time they close anyway. So we were completely not attached to different possibility for the kids to do different occupation and ballet. But my sister Sabine, my taller sister Sabine, was already old enough to be in a school. And she had some ballet class there. So in her wardrobe, in her bedroom, she had a tutu and pointe shoes. And apparently, I do remember it. When I was 3 years old, I was playing all the time with a pointe shoes and a tutu. And sometime my parents was organizing also evenings, parties. We had the big rooms where we could invite a lot of people, and for birthday or for surprise party. And that I remember dancing rock and roll with my sister when I was like 7 years old, and everybody said, "Oh, Stephane is moving so well," and this and that. The guest was always amazed about the way I was dancing. And then I remember one of these lady, she said, "You should dance, Stephane." And I don't know why I said that to her. And I have no idea. And I said, "But it's too late because you have to start very young when you dance." I said that to her. I don't know how old I was, maybe 9 years old. And then at 13, we moved with my mother because my parents split up, they divorced, and we moved to a city. And I was 13 years old. And my mother decided to offer me a ballet class because I was not working very well at school. She said, "You take a ballet class, but you're going to start to work at school." So I went to the studios, to this school, and the teacher, she said, "Okay, we have classical ballet, or we have modern, and we have jazz. What would you like to do? And try everything, and then you let me know." So I start with, I think it was a modern class, kind of jazz modern class. And the teacher, she could not believe, she said afterwards, she said she could not believe that I never danced before.
My goodness.
And then I took a ballet class, and I was the only little boy with all these girls around of me. And I decided the ballet class. After that was in Saint-Quentin, it's a city like 2 hours away from Paris, where I was. And 1 month later, my ballet teacher from this city wrote a letter to the director of the Paris Opera School, which was Claude Bessin that time, and said that she has someone she would like to be sure that she thinks that this little boy has a lot of talent. And the Claude Bessin sent a letter back to my teacher, and she said, "Unfortunately for his age, it's too late to come to the Paris Opera Ballet School. But bring him to Paris as soon as you can with different teachers, because some teachers from the Paris Opera School had also private school in the city."
Okay.
So she guided me to this teacher, Daniel Franck, who was a teacher also in Paris Opera. And from there, I moved to different teacher. And then eventually, she said also in the letter, he also could present later the Conservatory of Paris, the National Superior Conservatoire de Paris. And this is what I did. And I had my prize, and then I did different, and then I moved. I never danced in France, actually. I never was part of a ballet company in France. I moved to different continents and companies all over the world. And it's my first time, actually, after 33 years, I am back to France as a ballet master.
Amazing.
Yeah. So actually, I was more away of my country for 33 years because I left France at 17. And then I was away for 33 years. So I know more the outside world of
than France. Isn't that incredible? Their story is amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I don't. Today I'm looking back and I say I don't even know how I did it, because I changed so many places, so many countries, so many. I don't know how I did it. I did. It's amazing somehow.
But what I find so interesting when artists tell me these stories, how they started, is always this teacher who had faith in you, you know, and there's always some people on the way that could help or inspire or, you know, open a door for you. And this is incredible. And I think the teachers, this is why I'm so glad you named the teacher, because I think the teachers should be named, you know, artists should tell these teachers that started, you know, when they were 4 years old, or like you when you were 13, because they are the ones that helped you, or that gave you this little push to go further.
They were angels on my way. They were angels on my way. They were like guide, you know, angel guide. I mean, and to finish the story is when I took my first ballet class, you know, my mother, with the conversation of this teacher in Saint-Quentin, you know, I think they had not an argument, because my ballet teacher, she was trying to tell my mother, don't try to make an excuse of having Stephane to work better at school, because, you know, you pay him a ballet class, because Stephane has a talent, and if you don't give the full possibility to make him dancing, he will dance anyway. So it is better to help him to dance very well now, because he's late already. At 13 years old, you are already knows how to dance, but I didn't. The only luck I had is my natural talent that I received from God, and the rest, it is my work. So I catch, and my teacher said to my mom, you should help him, not try to make excuse to make him, because, and that's why after 1 month, they brought me to Paris.
But that's so incredible, and this is also what I talk about in these conversations, is if we should not see if there's a possibility that we could talk about the change in education, so that children get the opportunity, all children get the opportunity to do art in school, and not just maths and science. And like you now say, you know, you touched a very important subject, and that is that some children, you know, thrive in the arts and some thrive in maths and science, but we have to give children the opportunity on that level, you know, on the entry level in school. So say, for example, you started when you were 13, but if you started school at the age of 6, and already there you were exposed to art and dance and music, you know, that could have helped you as well, and that could have opened a door for you as well at that age. But now we focus so much on maths and science, and like your mother, she probably, you know, also come from a generation where the maths and science was important, and schoolwork is important, because that would guarantee your future to study or whatever. But art is as important as these subjects, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You brought bringing a completely true meaning into what it should be, because every kid has a gift for something, yeah. But when you go to school, art, music, okay, you do some music. I mean, I did some flute a little bit, you learn a little bit of notes, but we didn't have any ballet class, we didn't have any music class, we didn't have any painting class, we didn't have any. But this is exactly when you are so young that you see the true gift from nature for the kids. And if you just study science or mathematics or language or you know, it's not the same thing for the kids. There's definitely some of them are very frustrated because this is not where they should step into the life with it, you know. And unfortunately, I don't know any country who is aware of that or propose that. I don't know.
Because I think this education system, if you the education system is based on the old system where they wanted to prepare people in the industrial era for inventions and for science development. And this is why sciences and maths is so seen as these important subjects. But for children just to express themselves, you know, even if it's a child that's not becoming a dancer or a musician, but it would be a way to express yourself. And it would be, you know, I feel the artists have these skills. I don't know if it's really skills and or if it's something that they acquire in the time to be self-motivated, to overcome obstacles, to see long-term solutions, or to almost be the dreamers, you know, be thinking so far ahead and then achieving that. And if we could develop these skills in children at a young age, even if they don't become dancers or musicians, but if they become mathematicians or architects or anything like that, they will have these acquired skills. They will have these things that the artists now possess because of the training, because of, like you say, ballet with exercise. And then if you also see brain development, you know, how the brain is shaped, how for artists, you know, that could that not just benefit anybody in this world, even if you're not, you know, in an artistic direction.
Yeah, like I said, you are completely right. It's a shame that it doesn't exist. There is some school who are well known. I'm unfortunately I do not have a very good understanding for what they do. It's this, and I don't want to mention any names because they are quite well known, and sometimes you have completely big artists who are coming from them. But unfortunately, when some people are interested about art, they go to this school where they learn dancing, they learn even lighting for the stage, they learn to improve, they learn music, they learn how to paint, and they have a full program around art. But my little bit critic with these schools, it's like these people are coming from there afterwards, they are not pushed to one direction. So they do a lot of things. And actually they get out of that and they with no job because actually they are not focusing on exactly one thing. So when you have been study ballet or even dance, it could be contemporary or whatever, in that type of school, there are so many diverse class on different things, then actually they doesn't dance well or they doesn't, you know, I don't say it's 90% of what I'm saying, but in general, if you look the percentage of these people coming out from this big school are quite expensive actually, they are not completely, you know, helping you to find your way actually, because you have to take class. of different things. You cannot focus on one thing. And this is a big critique I'm giving to this type of school, because for the amount of class you have, you could just, okay, this is what I am for, or this is, but it's not the quality.
Yeah, but I think that will help when children at a young age start to get just give, like you said, you went to modern dance and you went to ballet, you had different options, and then you made the decision, and then the teacher could also see this is his direction, or this is where he could progress. And if we start that with young children and give them just this exposure to everything and see in which direction they go, and then we can have the specialized schools, then they can go to a ballet school or whatever. But I think the problem at the moment also is that you also mentioned something about the fees of these schools, the cost to go to these schools. Many of these art schools cost a fortune, and not many parents can afford it.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is what happened during the 90s, 80s. A lot of things changing during that time. I'm talking for France, but also for different countries. In that time, there were no diplomas to become a dancer or to become a teacher. And then the government, many governments in different countries, decide to organize a little bit what was going on in the art field. And they tried to put some programs to make teachers or to have a diploma at the end of the school. And during that time, actually, that was the worst idea we could have for the arts. Not the fact that, okay, we could maybe put some rules for better quality or this and that, but all these teachers who didn't have a diploma and had a ballet school in France, sometimes we criticize them because they didn't have the right floor. They were maybe organizing ballet class in their garage or whatever in a space where it was not appropriate, and there were no security for fire alarms or for the big doors to be sure that we can escape if something happens. So all these rules became more and more influencing our fields. So from that time, ballet school had to shut down because of this and that, and the rules was not, But actually, if you think about it, during that time, there was more than 300 kids who was going to the Paris Opera School to make an audition, and where they were coming from, these kids, they were coming from this little ballet school.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask the director of the Paris Opera School, they have to go outside of the country to find kids to nourish their school. Really? You see with the programs?
Yeah.
And by putting so much rules and putting so much difficulty, actually, to just let it go, for God's sake. We are just dancers. We are not doing so much big deal about it. And now, every school you have now in every city, so it's still many schools, they had to get a diploma, or they had to be sure they give a diploma to the kids. And actually, they have to study anatomy. They have to study solfège, music. They have to study improvisation. They had to do modern class. They have to do this. They have to do that. And actually, they doesn't even take ballet class. And then at the end of their years of study, they have a diploma and they cannot dance. They are not professional. They are not even able to do a ballet class full out because their muscles are not ready, because they are, and this is what happened. This is what is happening. I am ballet master at the Théâtre de Toulouse here, au Capitole. Yeah, I am the one to audition dancers. This is my job. So when I receive a profile on my email account for audition, I'm looking. There's no French dancers anymore who are coming with a professional level. Most of the 75% of this company are not French. They are all, the best dancers are coming from Japan and from the East Bloc.
Really?
Yeah. You have good school, very good school, who are very expensive, But all this little school who was nourishing the bigger school doesn't exist anymore.
Mm. And that's where it starts, and that's where, but also it's not just the children from there that move on to become professional dancers. It's those children there who develop the love for ballet or for dance, who will be the audiences, who will be the children who can appreciate performance and appreciate what the dancers are doing, because they know, they understand, you know.
Exactly. It's an education. It's an education for the rest of their life afterwards. I mean, I don't say that this little school was making big dancers. No, maybe one in 20 years, maybe one teacher had one little girl or one little boy who could go to a bigger school, but that was a reward. The rest of the school was actually nourishing artistically, and they went afterwards when they were adults. Oh yes, you enjoyed to go to the theaters.
Yeah.
And now it's not the same education. It's not at all the same education. It is a little bit sad, I must say. Very sad.
I remember. I remember in this is the situation in South Africa as well, that you know, there's not many theaters and not many possibility for you know, dancers and even opera singers, you know. But I remember there was a ballet dancer who taught my daughter when she was little, and she said to me one day, and this is actually what you're saying now, she said that as a ballet teacher in, you know, with these little schools, you are very happy when one of your children end up becoming a professional dancer, and that's the, like you say, that was the reward. And she said that, but for the rest, she teaches the love for ballet and the, you know, and the love for the art. And because, you know, it's not for everybody, you know, it's not everybody that's becoming the dancers. And it's very important that you mentioned that also, you know, that these little schools, they are really, they're very important for art, you know.
Yeah. Completely true. Completely true.